Picture this. March Madness. Thursday night. You're at your buddy's place. Cold beer, big screen. Illinois fighting for their tournament life. The room's loud. Good loud. Wings on the counter, brackets on the fridge. 8 people crammed into a living room in Lexington, Kentucky. And for the first time in weeks you feel like yourself. Your wife's on her 3rd glass of wine. She's been talking to the group, not to you, which is fine, you're watching the game. Then during halftime, she turns to the room, holds up her glass, and says, "Neil sends me flowers every Friday." You know why? Because he literally has nothing else going on. That's his whole personality. A standing order at a florist. The room goes quiet. Somebody coughs. Your buddy Sylvia looks at you with that face people make when they want to help, but don't know how. You set your beer on the railing, step off the porch, and walk into the fog. That was my house. My wife. My flowers. My name is Neil Holloway. I'm 42. I own a small landscaping company in Lexington, 3 trucks, for guys, year-round contracts. Steady work. Good money. Not flashy. I've been married to Yvette for 12 years, and every Friday since 2021, I've had fresh flowers delivered to our house. Same florist. Same standing order. Not because I had nothing else going on, because that's how I loved her. Consistent. Quiet. Every single week. Yvette manages the front office at a medical clinic downtown. Smart, organized, the kind of woman who walks into a room and people notice. When we first met, she told me she liked that I didn't try too hard. "You're just solid," she said. I took that as a compliment. I'm starting to think she meant something else. Sylvia Osborne, my oldest friend, known her since high school, finds me sitting in my truck in the driveway. Engine off. Hands in my lap. "She's had too much wine," Sylvia says. She doesn't mean it. She's been saying versions of that for 6 months. I say. The wine just took the filter off. Sylvia doesn't argue. She leans against the truck door. "Come back in. Illinois is up by 4. "I'm good." She nods. Walks back inside. I sit there until the porch lights go off. Here's the thing about being the patient one in a marriage: you absorb. You file things away. You tell yourself it's a bad day, a bad week, a bad season. And by the time you realize it wasn't a season but a pattern, you've been filing for years. The shift started about 8 months ago when Yvette's cousin Roscoe moved to Lexington. Roscoe Inman, 34, single, relocated from Louisville after some tech deal paid out. Posts his life on social media like it's a highlight reel. Brunches with strangers. Weekend trips to Nashville. New apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows and 0 responsibilities. Yvette started following every post, commenting on every photo. "Look at this," she'd say, scrolling in bed. "Roscoe's actually living." I'd be standing right there. In our house. The one I built the back deck on with my own hands. One Tuesday night, Yvette comes home from dinner with Roscoe. I'm on the couch watching the news, something about power outages in Ohio, thousands without heat. She walks past me without a word, goes upstairs, comes back down with her pillow. "My back's been killing me," she says. "The guest room mattress is firmer. Just for tonight." I don't push it. I never push it. That's who I am. I retreat in every conflict. She's used to winning because I step back. What she doesn't realize is that one day, stepping back becomes walking away. Just for tonight turns into a week into a month into 3. Nobody talks about it. I end up on the couch most nights anyway. Feels less empty than the master bedroom alone. Saturday mornings, I start going to a woodworking class at the community center. A guy named Willis Langford teaches it. Retired carpenter, 71, talks more than he sands. But those 3 hours are the only peace I have all week. I'm building a jewelry box out of walnut. I don't know who it's for anymore. One evening I cooked dinner. Pork chops, roasted vegetables, Yvette's grandmother's recipe for the glaze. She walks in, looks at the plate, picks up a piece with her fork. "You overcooked it again," she says. "I've explained this to you so many times, Neil. High heat ruins the texture. I'm saying this for your health." I look at her. I followed the recipe. "Well, the recipe doesn't account for your timing. I'm trying to help you." I take my plate to the living room. Behind me, she says to the empty kitchen, "See? This is what I mean." I try to help, and he shuts down. After every conversation with Yvette, I feel worse than before. She calls it caring. But if caring leaves you smaller every time, it's not caring, it's a performance with an audience of one. The following week, She comes home from the clinic in a mood I can't read, drops her bag on the counter, pours a glass of water, and says without looking at me, "Dr. Mercer asked me to lunch again today. I'm loading the dishwasher." Okay. That's it. Okay. What do you want me to say? I don't know, Neil. Maybe act like it matters? A man asks your wife to lunch, and you just, okay? She stares at me. Do you even care? I close the dishwasher. Look at her. Are you telling me about lunch, or are you waiting for me to get upset? She doesn't answer, just takes her water and walks upstairs. Because the answer to that question isn't one she can say out loud. She doesn't want me to know about Dr. Mercer. She wants me to panic, to prove I'd choose her, fight for her, beg to keep her. It's an exam, and I realize if I pass it every time, the exam never ends. A week later, Della Jessup from 3 doors down invites us to a dinner party. Small group, for couples, her famous brisket, string lights on the patio. I'm telling a story about a landscaping job, the one where we found a 1940s time capsule buried under a client's driveway. Good story. People are leaning in. Halfway through, Yvette cuts me off. That's not how it happened. You always exaggerate the details, Neil. The table goes quiet. Della looks at her plate. It happened exactly like that, I say. You embellish. You do it all the time. She turns to the group with a smile. I love him, but someone has to keep him honest. I don't finish the story. The table moves on. Later, clearing dishes, Della puts a hand on my arm and says, "For what it's worth, I wanted to hear the rest." On the drive home, I say, "You corrected me in front of everyone. I was being honest. You were being cruel and calling it honesty." "Oh, come on. You're so sensitive. Name one time you've said I was wrong to me. One time." Silence. She adjusts the rearview mirror. "That's not fair. I apologize all the time." "You apologize for how I feel. You've never apologized for what you did." She turns up the heat. Conversation's over. I file that one too. Stay with me here. Because this is where most guys would blow up. I don't. I just stop. Stop cooking for 2. Stop telling stories at dinner parties. Stop offering pieces of myself that get handed back corrected. 3 weeks later, our anniversary. I bought Billy Joel tickets. Good seats. The kind you plan around. Yvette has always said she wanted to see him live. I put the tickets on the kitchen counter with a card that took me 20 minutes to write. She glances at them like they're a water bill. "You could have just asked what I wanted. You said you wanted to see Billy Joel. That was last year, Neil. People change." She doesn't go. I take Sylvia. We have a great time. Billy Joel plays Piano Man for the encore, and the whole arena sings along. Yvette doesn't ask how it was. The following Friday, I notice the flowers on the counter, still in cellophane. She hasn't opened them. They sit there until the petals brown, and I throw them out myself. It's not the first time. It's just the first time I let myself see it. Then the trip. I suggest a long weekend in Louisville, new Bourbon Trail she's been talking about, some restaurant Roscoe posted. She agrees Friday morning. Saturday afternoon. I just don't feel like it anymore. We agreed, I say. We didn't sign a contract, Neil. That phrase. I file it. Somewhere deep. Where things go when they're too important to forget and too painful to hold. That weekend Roscoe hosts a get-together at his new place. I go because Yvette insists. He's family, Neil. Don't make it weird. His apartment looks like a showroom. Everyone's drinking something with basil in it. I end up in the kitchen refilling my water when I hear Yvette's voice from the living room. Neil's idea of romance is a standing order at a florist. Same bouquet since 2021. I told him, surprise me for once. He looked at me like I'd asked him to do calculus. Laughter. The room laughs. I hear Roscoe's voice. You deserve someone who matches your energy, Yvette. Her cousin. Telling my wife she deserves better. While I'm standing 12 feet away holding a glass of water. On the drive home, I say, your cousin doesn't know anything about our marriage. He knows more than you think. At least he listens to me. I listen. You just don't like what I hear. She turns up the radio. Sports recap. St. Bonaventure's upset. The bracket busted wide open. We don't speak for the rest of the drive. The next morning I try one more time. Sitting across from her at breakfast, I say, we need to talk about what's happening between us. She puts down her phone. Okay, talk. The separate rooms. The canceled plans. The way you speak about me when other people are around. Something's broken and I want to understand what. She stares at me. And for a moment something flickers. Vulnerability, maybe, or recognition. Then it closes. You're always making everything into a problem, Neil. We're fine. You're just in your head. I'm not in my head. You told 8 people my flowers were pathetic. That was a joke. Nobody laughed. You're so sensitive. Roscoe says. I don't care what Roscoe says. I'm talking to you. Right now. About our marriage. She pushes back from the table. I can't do this when you're being aggressive. I'm sitting at a kitchen table asking my wife a question. And I'm telling you, I can't breathe when you do this. She picks up her phone and walks upstairs. The conversation about her behavior has somehow become about my tone. It happens every time. I try to address something specific, and I leave the conversation apologizing for how I raised it. Not this time. This time I just sit there and finish my coffee. A few days later, I find out she's been talking to a divorce coach. She leaves her laptop open on the kitchen island. An email thread. Subject line, your next chapter. The coach's name is Ramona Phelps. Yvette's first message reads, I think I'm ready to explore my options. Explore her options. While sleeping in my house. Under a roof I maintain. Living on the stability I built without flashy Instagram posts to prove it. You know that moment when hurt crystallizes into something harder? It doesn't happen all at once. It starts with the flowers. Friday comes. I don't call the florist. Saturday comes. I don't cook. I don't ask about her day. I don't suggest plans. I don't leave notes on the counter. I don't exist in the spaces where I used to overextend myself. It's not strategy. It's exhaustion. I'm just empty. Drained. Done reaching for someone who slaps your hand and then asks why you stopped. The house gets quiet in a way it hasn't been before. Not peaceful quiet, vacuum quiet. The kind of silence that used to be filled with my effort, and now there's nothing in its place. Sunday morning. Yvette comes downstairs while I'm drinking coffee on the porch. She stands in the doorway. Are you mad at me? She asks. No. Then what is this? This is me sitting on the porch. You're punishing me. I'm drinking coffee, Yvette. She waits. I don't look up. She goes back inside. 10 minutes later, I hear her on the phone. Roscoe, from what I can tell. Muffled through the glass, but I catch one line. He's being passive-aggressive. It's exhausting. Passive-aggressive. That's what she calls it when the person she ignored starts matching her silence. Monday evening. Yvette walks into the living room where I'm reading. You didn't ask about my day, she says. How was your day? Don't do that. Don't make it weird. I ask. She stands there. What's going on with you? Nothing's going on. You're different. Distant. I turn the page. Maybe. She waits for more. There isn't more. She goes back to the guest room. I hear the door close, then nothing. Wednesday. The florist calls the house phone. Yvette picks up. We haven't received this week's order for the Holloway residence. She hangs up without answering. That evening she finds me in the garage, sanding the walnut jewelry box. The florist called, she says from the doorway. I know. You canceled the flowers? Paused them. Why? I set down the sandpaper. You said they were my whole personality. I figured I'd give you a break from it. Something crosses her face that I haven't seen in months. Not anger. Not that patient, amused dismissal. Fear. The silence where my effort used to be is louder than any argument we've ever had. But here's where it gets complicated. Because 3 days later, she makes coffee, brings me a cup, sets it on the workbench in the garage, doesn't say anything, just places it there and walks back inside. And for 1 second I think, maybe she gets it. Maybe the silence cracked something open. Maybe she's trying to reach me the only way she knows how. That evening she sits on the couch, my couch, the one I've been sleeping on, and turns on a movie. Doesn't invite me. Just sits there. When I come inside from the garage, she looks up. There's leftover pasta in the fridge, she says. I made extra. I nod. Thanks. Sit down if you want. It's that movie you liked, the one about the astronaut. I sit. We watch in silence. Halfway through, she shifts and her shoulder touches mine. She doesn't move away. For 20 minutes, it almost feels like 3 years ago. Like the woman who used to fall asleep on my chest during Sunday movies is still in there somewhere, buried under Roscoe's advice and Ramona's strategy sessions. I want to believe it. The viewer in my own story wants to believe it. Thursday, she texts me at lunch. Want to grab dinner tonight? That new place on Main Street. I almost say yes. I'm about to type sure when I remember something Sylvia said to me once. The question isn't whether she's being nice. The question is what she does after being nice. So I wait. Thursday evening, I'm stacking firewood along the side of the house, and through the kitchen window, Open 2 inches because Yvette always runs the exhaust fan while she heats leftovers. I hear her on the phone with Roscoe. I'm being strategic, she says. Ramona said to show effort before filing. It looks better in mediation. Strategic. Show effort. Looks better in mediation. The coffee wasn't for me. The dinner invitation wasn't for me. It was for a divorce coach's checklist. I was falling for a performance designed to look good in front of a judge. Kitchen sink. Water running. I'm staring at the drain. 15 minutes gone before I realize I haven't moved. My hands are wet, and I don't remember turning on the faucet. Saturday morning. Woodworking class. Willis is talking about dovetail joints and his late wife's garden, and something about a new movie his grandson wants him to see. I'm sanding. Slow, steady strokes. My hands are calm. My head is clearer than it's been in months. I think about Yvette. About every time she said yes and meant yes, as long as I feel like it. Not lies, exactly, just a different language. One where words don't carry weight. I wasn't being betrayed by a villain. I was making plans with someone who doesn't make plans. Building a life with someone who was already sketching the exit. I stop building on what she says. I start watching what she does. Monday morning. My phone rings. Nolan Varner, college buddy. Haven't talked to him in 2 years. Neil, I don't know if you heard. Your Uncle Ray passed last Tuesday. The ranch outside Bozeman. I sit on the porch step. Uncle Ray, my mother's brother. We hadn't spoken in 3 years. Old family grudge, the kind where nobody remembers who started it. There's a will, Nolan says. You're named. You should call his estate attorney. I call Sylvia. She knows people. She always knows people. By that afternoon, I'm sitting in a downtown office across from Janine Yates, estate attorney, wire-rimmed glasses, a voice that doesn't waste words. Your uncle left you the ranch and several liquid accounts, Janine says. Total value just over $800,000. I don't move. $800,000. Yes. And here's what matters. She leans forward. Kentucky is an equitable distribution state. But inheritance is classified as separate property. It stays yours as long as you don't commingle it with marital funds. Based on what you've described, separate bedrooms for 3 months, her public statements about leaving, her own communications with a divorce coach about filing, she has effectively separated herself from any claim before this money even existed. So she gets nothing from the inheritance. The marital assets, company equity, the house, shared accounts, those go through normal division. But the inheritance? That's yours. Legally, cleanly, entirely yours. Her own actions built the record. I sit there a long time after Janine finishes. Not planning anything. Just realizing something quiet and enormous. Every contract Yvette said we didn't sign, every commitment she walked back, every time she told a room full of people she was done, it all built the legal wall that now protects the one thing she doesn't know about. We didn't sign a contract, Neil. No, we didn't. And that's exactly why this inheritance stays with me. I say nothing to Yvette. Not a word. I go home, eat dinner, sand the jewelry box. She's in the guest room scrolling Roscoe's latest post. Rooftop bar in Nashville, city lights behind him, 200 likes. 2 weeks pass. I meet with Janine 3 more times. Paperwork moves. Accounts are established separately. Everything documented, legal, clean. And here's the part that would break the viewer's heart if this were someone else's story. During those 2 weeks, Yvette tries harder than she has in a year. She cooks dinner twice. She asks about my landscaping bids. She stands in the garage doorway one evening and says, "That jewelry box is beautiful, Neil. You've always been good with your hands." I look at her. For 3 seconds, I see the woman I married. The one who said, "You're solid," and meant it as the highest compliment she'd ever given. And it hurts, not because she's cruel in this moment, but because I can't tell if it's real. I genuinely can't. And the fact that I've reached a place where my wife's kindness is indistinguishable from strategy, that's the thing I'll never forgive Roscoe and Ramona for. They didn't break my marriage. They made it so I can't trust the repairs. Tuesday, she suggests marriage counseling, Ramona's recommendation, she says, which tells me everything. Wednesday, she leaves a card on the kitchen counter. I pick it up. Careful handwriting, the kind you use when you know someone might read it in court. Not, "I love you." Not, "I'm sorry I humiliated you twice in front of everyone we know." Just, "I want to try." I leave the card where it is. Friday evening. I'm at the kitchen table reading when Yvette walks in. She's been on the phone. I can tell by the heat still coming off the screen. We need to talk, she says. Different voice. Tighter. Okay. Roscoe heard something. From Sylvia's husband. About your uncle. I close the book. What about him? That he died. That he left you money. She sits across from me. A lot of money, Neil. That's true. And you didn't tell me. I look at her. You told Ramona Phelps you were ready to explore your options. You told Roscoe I had nothing going on. You told a room full of people my flowers were pathetic. You moved out of our bedroom 3 months ago. I fold my hands on the table. At what point in that timeline was I supposed to share my inheritance with you? That's not fair. You said we didn't sign a contract. I'm just respecting your terms. Neil, I'm your wife. You were also my wife when you coached your divorce strategy through the kitchen window. Show effort before filing. It looks better in mediation. I heard every word, Yvette. That coffee wasn't kindness. It was evidence management. The color leaves her face. Not embarrassed. Not caught in a lie. Something deeper, the moment you realize the person you've been managing has stopped being manageable. I was confused, she says. Roscoe was in my ear. Ramona was pushing me toward. I'm not blaming Roscoe. Or Ramona. They gave advice. You took it. That was your choice. I'm willing to work on this. I'll move back into the bedroom tonight. I'll cancel Ramona. Janine Yates already started the paperwork. Silence. The kind that has physical weight. The kind you feel behind your ribs. Who is Janine Yates? My attorney. Her hands go flat on the table. You already hired a lawyer. 3 weeks ago. Before you talked to me about any of this? You talked to a divorce coach before you talked to me. I'm just keeping up. She stares at me. I can see every tactic cycling behind her eyes. Anger, tears, bargaining, blame. She lands on tears. I made mistakes. I know that. But you're throwing away 12 years because I'm not throwing away anything. You put it all on the curb months ago. I'm just finally picking up what's mine. The money. Neil, we can figure this out together. The money is separate property. Janine confirmed it. The separate bedrooms, the emails to Ramona, your statements at Roscoe's party. It's all documented. Not because I was building a case. Because you were building one against yourself. I just paid attention. She sits there. The fight drains from her face. What's left is raw and small and frightened. Not the woman who mocked my standing order in front of 8 people. Not the strategist who brewed coffee for a mediator's checklist. Just a person realizing that the quiet man who always retreated finally didn't come back. I didn't think you'd actually leave, she says. Barely above a whisper. I know. I stand up. That's the part one can't get past. Not that you hurt me, but that you were so certain I'd absorb it. Every correction. Every canceled plan. Every room you walked out of. You counted on me retreating. And I did. Every single time. I look at her one last time. Until I didn't. I pick up my book. Walk to the garage. Close the door behind me. That night, she moves her pillow back to the master bedroom. I don't notice. I'm at the community center finishing the jewelry box under fluorescent lights. Willis left me the key. The walnut smells like patience. Janine files the petition on a Tuesday. Clean and quick. Yvette contests nothing. Ramona, ironically, advises her not to fight it. Marital assets split fair. The inheritance stays with me. The house goes on the market in April. 3 months later. New apartment. Saturday morning. Woodworking class. Willis is talking about his late wife again, how she left notes in his lunchbox every day for 41 years. I still find her handwriting in old jacket pockets, he says. I'm sanding a bookshelf. Something bigger this time. Something that fills a room. Friday morning. My phone rings. The florist. Mr. Holloway? We received a call this morning. Someone wanted to place a weekly order for your old address. I canceled that account weeks ago. I know, sir. This was a new request. From your wife. I pause. Ex-wife. She wanted to reinstate the Friday delivery. We told her the account was closed. I look at the sawdust on my hands. 12 years of flowers. And the only time she ever tried to send them was after I stopped. Keep it closed, I say. Yes, sir. I hang up. Finish my coffee. Morning light hits the workbench. Warm, still mine. Not peaceful quiet. Earned quiet. Turns out the flowers were never the problem. She just couldn't see them until the counter was empty. Dear listeners, that's our ending. If it resonated, subscribe to support the channel. See you next time.